there are two issues. It's postures and movement patterns.
But I get the question, well, how frequently do I get up, or how long should I sit for versus standing?
For every 30 minutes of work, you want to stand up / gently stretch for 2 minutes. So since most work-related spinal injuries are compression related, then a position that reduces compression by at the rate of 75% is actually the correct way to sit and should be the goal.
So are there some simple measures that we can do at home to start to give us an idea of like if we're on the right track?
8 hours a day of computer use, you have to have an ergonomic task chair with the lumbar support. And so unfortunately, many people have been trained into thinking that it's this upright 90-degree angle, 90-degree at the hips, 90-degree at the knees, and that is wholly incorrect.
So today we're going to talk about how to set up an ergonomic workstation at home. You know, many people work from home right now, and instead of sitting in a nice office chair that maybe they're used to right now, we end up working at the kitchen table or, you know, in a not perfect environment. And many people develop chronic lower back pain, chronic pain, and that even exercises is not going to fix. So today we invited some amazing people to talk about it. I'm here with Dr. Todd Johnsonbaugh, one of our hosts, chiropractor in Columbia, Maryland. I'm here with the amazing Dr. Stephen Davis, chiropractor in Bethesda. And we have here Jeannie Koulizakis, a physical therapist and founder of ERGORX. She's going to talk about ergonomic workstations and beyond. We're going to surprise you today, so pay attention. So who would like to ask the first question?
I get the question a lot in practice. You know, we always talk to people about getting up as frequently as possible from, you know, seated positions. But I get the question, well, how frequently do I get up, or how long should I sit for versus standing? Is there any information or research you've come across that maybe there's like a golden ratio or a kind of preferred amount of time sitting to standing, or if people only have a sitting desk, preferred amount of time before they get up, maybe walk around for a few minutes or stretch?
Is that question for me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, there is a consensus based on research in I believe it was 18 or 19. There was a huge consortium of ergonomists that gathered in England and papers that have been written on this subject. And the moral of the story is the consensus is for every 30 minutes of work, you want to stand up / gently stretch for 2 minutes. So for every 30 minutes of work, it's 20 to 28 minutes of seated work. It's 2 to 10 minutes of standing work, and then repeat. Every 4 cycles or so, which is every 2 hours, you're going to take a longer break. Every 4 hours, lunch, it's lunchtime, and then repeat in the afternoon. And as many of us have come to understand, there's also now a third shift post-pandemic, the after hours time on a computer sort of in the evening, and the same rules apply. You just, every 30 minutes, you want to do some sort of standing. If you have a standing desk, this is great. But you don't have to have a stand-up. You don't have to have a standing desk. Your butt needs to come up twice an hour, not your desk. This is the thing for people to understand.
And tonight is our big topic is how to set up your home workstation. But before we do that, for those that don't know, and I don't think so, but sometimes people go, what's this ergonomic thing? What does that mean? So can you just give us a quick, description, Jeannie, or also Dr. Davis, what we think of as ergonomics?
Steve, you want to take this? I mean, I'm happy to answer it from my perspective.
Go for it. You're our guest, Jeannie. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, first of all, there are two issues. It's postures and movement patterns. And so we have now discussed the movement patterns. The movement patterns are for every 30 minutes of work, you should at least stand up. That doesn't mean that sitting has to be static. But you do want to actually engage the glutes to decompress the lumbopelvic region every 30 minutes by virtue of, at minimum, just standing up. There's other options, but the absolute easiest way to engage the glutes and sort of kickstart the musculoskeletal system and to not going into the consequences of prolonged sitting is you do want to stand up every 30 minutes.
So just in layman's term, you want to squeeze your tush so that you can create space in your spine.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Okay.
Keep going.
But how you sit, since sitting is the dominant posture for ergonomic work, for reduced stress on the body with computer use, how you sit matters and what position. So unfortunately, many people have been trained into thinking that it's this upright 90-degree angle, 90-degree at the hips, 90-degree at the knees, and that is wholly incorrect.
NASA established a standard years ago, right? And then they go like more 120 with their gravitational standards for certain things.
So
do we get 90 just because it was pretty and easy to design chairs or something?
Yes, because the furniture manufacturers sort of created those graphics. Yes, okay. And they are not chiropractors or PTs. They are not, people dealing with injured human beings. And so they really sort of got that wrong. And it's just incorrect. And unfortunately, it has been ingrained it's just an urban myth. That's the best way to explain it. It's simply not based in fact. The evidence shows that actually a skosh of recline, meaning if vertical is 0, upright is 0, that between 10 and 20 degrees of recline can reduce the pressure in between the vertebrae by 75%. So since most work-related spinal injuries are compression related, then a position that reduces compression by at the rate of 75% is actually the correct way to sit and should be the goal positioning. It should not be to try to sit upright, but to actually relax back, just like you do in a car, just like you do in a driver's seat, just like you do in a cockpit, just as you do, in any sort of prolonged sitting. You're not going to sit upright. You're going to relax if you have the option. And, that sort of also segues into appropriate seating for prolonged computer use. This is why things like, physio balls are inappropriate, dining room chairs are inappropriate. For 8 hours a day of computer use, you have to have an ergonomic task chair with a lumbar support. You need to spoon against a lumbar support. It is an orthotic, just like the one in your shoe. So just as the shoe orthotic supports the arch under, that's between your forefoot and your heel, a lumbar support in a chair can support that arch between your ribs and your hips.
You know what we were finding, Jeannie? It was so funny. We had some teenagers come in, and always when they come into the chair, these tall ones would come in and they would sink down to the chair and they would stop at a certain point. And the moms and dads would go, "Well, stop slumping. What are you doing?" And I go, "Well, we have terrible chairs here at the office, and your tall son is actually sinking his lumbar spine into where the support is." And so they're making the most of that. And then they look at them and go, "Oh my gosh, good job." So it's amazing how we will accommodate in some really interesting ways. But obviously, it's not we wouldn't charge a foot to fit into a weird orthotic. We wouldn't say change the morphology of your foot. We'd say, hey, move that. So are there some simple measures that we can do at home to start to give us an idea of like, if we're on the right track? Do we move, do we measure thigh length? What do we do to kind of at least get us started?
So I think that the way that I educate, the way that I teach this to my patients is that I try to teach them what correct sitting feels like, because there is no better way than to than for muscle memory. So the way that I describe it is I say to people, if you've never rolled a suitcase in your entire life, but you have to for hours a day carry suitcases, the first time you the first time you see a suitcase with a retractable handle and wheels and you feel it, no one ever again has to tell you how far out you have to retract the handle, at what angle you have to tilt the suitcase in order to give you that feeling of ease with rolling it. It's a feeling of musculoskeletal efficiency that they have to proprioceive in order for them to understand what the goal feeling of comfortable working is. So I take them into that position. And so I teach them exactly how, I have a sample chair and I have a sample, little setup. I call it my Spartan setup, where I teach what I call spine and joint hygiene for the technology worker and you. This is the brushing and flossing for, just as we brush and floss to save our teeth, we have to have ideal postures and movement patterns in order to save our back and necks. And so our spine and joints. And so this is what it is. Put your butt all the way back, spoon with the lumbar support, open up the knees to 120 degrees, place your feet on an angled platform. There is a reason why gas pedals are not a button on the floorboard. They are angled platforms in front of us to encourage a more open knee angle, and open being, 110, 120 degrees. Spoon with the lumbar support. And we use, in my particular clinic, I
usually say stay in touch, keep in touch, really feel that decompress you.
Right.
And, just a quick interruption, then keep going. I'm amazed at how many people go, what does it hurt to do? And they go, sitting. Has anybody ever then told you how to sit? And I can't tell you how many chiropractic brethren, other therapists, whatever, go, and they'll go, no. And so it's so refreshing to hear that you go, hey, if it hurts to sit, and you have to sit, let's make you a good sitter. So go ahead. I just wanted to add that little bit. Keep going.
So I take them through the steps of, step number 1, adjust the seat height to below the knee. Step number 2, butt back. Step number 3, feet on angled platform. Step number 4, recline to pleasure. It's up to you, whatever feels comfortable.
Right.
As long as it's not upright and it's not more than 45 degrees, it's got to be somewhere between 10 degrees past vertical and, full sleeping.
And your head doesn't do this thing as you go forward, right? Like this.
Right.
You don't want to go back and then your head go forward.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly. And then once they find that sweet spot, we educate them, here is, outstretch your hand. Your monitor should be about 1 arm's length away. If you're doing this, it's too far away. If you're doing this, it's too close. It's generally like a book, 1 arm's length away from your face. This is where the monitor goes. And then what I have them do is I have them sit in that chair and I have them close their eyes and I have them swivel the chair like this. Okay. And what I tell them to do, yes, you swivel in the chair, glued to the orthotic support, to the lumbar support. And I say, if you don't have this relationship with the seat back of your office chair, that's part of why you're here today in my physical therapy clinic. Okay. So you have to reacquaint yourself with the adjustability of your office chair. If you don't have an adjustable office chair, you should invest in one. Again, if I'm telling you,
all adjustable office chairs have to be $3,000 though, right, Jeannie?
No, absolutely. Right. Like a toothbrush, there's a range of prices, okay? But the winner is the one who walks to the sink twice a day and brushes twice a day and flosses and does everything that their doctor tells them to. It's about the routine. But yes, you do need the right tools. I can't tell you to brush and then make you think that just putting toothpaste on your finger and doing this for a couple seconds is in any way, shape, or form adequate. It isn't. not at the clip of 8 hours a day. If you're not interacting with electronics a lot, then it's a different discussion.
Right.
But if you're a technology worker, or if your occupation, this is about occupational hygiene. That's what this is. So whether or not you have a job where you have a fancy person who's going to come by your office and teach you all this stuff, at this point, if you're working for yourself, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a hustler, if you're a student, if you're a young person that doesn't have access to that, this is the spine and joint hygiene you got to learn. Postures and patterns.
Integral. Yeah, we see a lot of folks and going, hey, if you're going to go switch this, and we see a lot of folks in our clinic that are their first or second year out of college. And it's so funny. They go, I remember just doing all of this. Now actually, you know, when they're on the floor or in their library and they're all these awkward positions. And now all of a sudden they have to sit at a desk for 8 hours a day. And they're like, it's killing me. And I go, yeah, you need the right tools. You need to take those micro breaks that you talked about at the very beginning. But are there some other specific things? So we got the angles up, the foot's up. Mike, were there some other issues that we wanted to make sure were covered today? That you were talking to other viewers that were going, hey, I really want when Jeannie comes on these questions answered. Were some other ones that questions you wanted answered?
Yes, definitely. So you have a lot of people asking what's the best chair, and everybody is talking about this specific, gear and, what I should buy. But in the conversation yesterday that I had with Jeannie, what was very, very interesting to me is not only how you use all this stuff, but the demonstration of how that ergonomic station should look like. And then how do you use it? Because you should not be in that station for 8 hours or 10 hours or 12 hours straight. There is a specific cycle of postures and patterns that she recommends. And that's something I definitely want people to know. So Jeannie, if you don't mind, demonstrate, if you could share your screen, that would be awesome, and present those things that you showed me yesterday. I think both patients and providers would really appreciate it.
Definitely.
Okay, so give me a moment. Sorry about it. I just want to get the graphic pulled up. But again, the graphic that I'm going to show you is what I call sort of the most basic requirements. Okay. This is let me just pull it up. Sorry, my computer is very slow for some reason with this conversation going on. So let me see, how do I make this big? There we go. And please hold.
And while we're waiting, Dr. Davis, do you find that you use ergonomics enough and a lot? And then Dr. Davis, you were one that you and Jeannie were in the same office before, right? So you all had actually collaborated together, right? What did that collaborative relationship look like as Jeannie's pulling up? Oh, here it goes.
There we go.
And you can talk about that later. Go ahead.
I'll answer that later, yeah.
So this is, let me just make it a little bigger. Okay, can you guys see that? Can you see this? Okay, so this is sort of the bare minimum requirement of postures and patterns. This is a person sitting at the angles that we discussed, and then instructions are for every 30 minutes of work, you're gonna stand for 2 or 10. Now, what chair and how you sit on the left is going to differ depending on what kind of workstation you are at. And number 2, what you do when you're upright is dependent on what options you have based on the products that you have purchased. Again, this is a person who sits at a static desk, this is their kitchen table, let's say, or this is, their cubicle desk. And this is how you're supposed to sit in the chair. And then this is the required pattern. Guidelines for ideal computer use, postures, and patterns. So this is sort of just a very basic way for you to interact with electronics. This is correct. I mean, this is sort of least common denominator, right?
And this
There's
looked like
nothing
the
fancy.
basic stuff set from NASA years ago, and you
Mhm.
just modified it for the modern,
Yes.
for the workstation. I mean, I'm looking at
Yeah.
this and I'm going, hey, looks like Apollo setup. And finally, so many years later, you're finally setting that up. That's
Yeah.
excellent.
Yeah. So, I mean, we have, different setups, and we have different things that we do, but I will share with you one other sort of global, sort of more zoomed out, if you will, other options that can be both of ideal sitting postures as well as ideal movement / gentle stretching / upright postures.
Yeah, and I want people to fix in their mind when they see that shot. Are we going to go back to that shot there?
Do you want me to go back to that
Well,
shot?
Or just fix in their mind how that looks juxtaposed against the 90-90 thing that we're talked about. That looks so
Yes.
much more comfortable
Yes.
than to fix people in this position, and it has no physiological. Oh, don't get me started. I'm sorry, but it's so neat to see those next to each other.
Yeah.
Later on, but folks, I just want you to realize that this person, look at that beautiful angle. And remember, Jeannie, can you remind people how much decompression is taken off the spine right now in this position?
Just by leaning back. So this line right here represents vertical, and this is the recline angle of about 25 degrees. What it does is it reduces the pressure by 75%. That's a big deal. And remember that most people don't sit upright. They tend to sit forward, which then so this recline is probably 80 or even 85% less than their standard intervertebral pressure loads. So it's, yeah.
I was gonna say, I'm looking at this, and even somebody with like the forward head posture, if they're reclined that 10 to 30 degrees or whatever you said was ideal.
Yes.
It would seem that even if their head was forward compared to where it's supposed to be, that's still vertical rather than the anterior of neutral.
Yes.
Is that part of that decompression?
Yes. So they say that if your neck has more flexion than 20 degrees, that it starts to increase the intervertebral pressure in the vertebrae. But that is assuming that the torso is vertical and the neck is flexed 20 degrees. When the torso is in recline and the head is vertical above it, that is less compression. But we don't recommend really reclining more than 25 degrees. And the truth is, we recommend headrests. So since I created this graphic, let me stop this share for a second, and let me take you to a more current graphic that will take me a minute to get to. Please forgive me, guys, but it's been a long day.
And while you're getting up that graphic, I want people to do the math in their head. Let's say you have a disc bulge and you go, hey, chiropractor dude, I can only sit 2 hours a day. And now I want you all to think, what if now when you sit, you can sit properly and take 75% of the compressive stress off of the disc? What does that do? Now your opportunity, your window of functional pain-free sitting went from this, whoa, now you're starting to live your life again. This could be the step you all need to do. Combine it with proper posturing, alignment, starting to build that core back again. Hey, making sure you squeeze the tush during the day, and boom, you're on your way. Oh, this is great.
Yes. So not everybody has a standing desk. Okay. So, we also have graphics that are just the chair. Because again, you don't have to have a standing desk to get your butt out of the chair twice an hour.
No.
Your butt comes up and down twice an hour, not the desk. It doesn't have to. And again, it just depends on what equipment you have or what you are privy to. But this is generally the way that we like to set up workstations. You have an ergonomic chair. And again, there's that really great posture with really great spooning with the lumbar support and a little bit of recline. And I have since added the cervical support for cervical for cervical support as well. I'm a big fan of it. And there are, my favorite chair is a $250 chair that has a 7-year warranty and comes with a headrest. So that's not a lot of money for a chair that you will use for 7 years, right? It's like a mattress. Like, there comes a point where if it's part of your livelihood and it's part of your health and wellness, it's not exactly a lot of money, right?
No.
Compared to what,
No.
so chairs don't have to be expensive, but the postures and patterns should be ideal. So yeah, this is how we, set them up. So we give them, seat height, lap height, desk height. I like to work with a little side table. You should have a writing surface that's underneath your dominant arm at the side. You shouldn't be leaning forward on a desk. You should be sitting back and you should be writing on the side. So I'm a big fan of these like little rolling side tables. That way, if you can't afford a really fancy height adjustable desk, you can afford a little rolling side table. They cost between $30 and $100, depending on what kind of height adjustment you need. But they're pivotal to have as a primary reach. This is where we like to put stuff. So I'm a big fan of what you see here is the side desk. And then if you have a standing desk, then we talk about, how to stand. Most of the time people want to sit at their computers and stand with their laptops or pace with their laptops to make phone calls or whatever else. This half isn't even required. I just put it here in the event that somebody has a standing desk and wants to utilize it. There are ways that we like to design really great workstations, but again, you don't have to have a fancy toothbrush to brush and floss twice a day.
Right.
But there's no shame in that either. So, I mean, if you have the resources, if you have the budget for it, I'm all for it, but it's not required. That's what we do. So
Awesome.
and so yeah.
And I have a question to Dr. Davis, because we talked about Jeannie yesterday about letters of medical necessity and how now when most and many people move to working from home. And now providers get a lot more questions about that. So I wanted to ask Dr. Davis, have you noticed more and more people asking about support with maybe trying to get proper equipment or evaluate them for ergonomics, and specifically about letters of medical necessity, because that's something that Jeannie can also help with?
Yeah, I've had several patients, I'd say over the past 8 or 9 months, ask those questions. Not a whole lot of people that asked me specifically for a letter, but I know anytime that there's if we want to call it a durable medical device or something that could possibly go through insurance or seek reimbursement through their employer, there's usually there are several key points that would need to be highlighted and met. I'm not too familiar with them. I think Jeannie would probably be much more in touch with what specifically kind of meets the goal of what is going to be looked for as far as necessity for those things.
Yeah, Jeannie, maybe you can talk about what you showed me yesterday, maybe an example, because we have some individuals watching us and very interested in like, how can I possibly get a perfect station for myself and maybe have my employer support me with that payment, but also providers may want to know, how do I write that letter of medical necessity properly? Or if they don't want to write it themselves, they can also ask you for support, right?
Absolutely. We do remote initial intake / ergonomic evaluations. We have a detailed intake form that requires the individual to take very specific pictures of themselves in their current workstation. Because again, what we are here to do is we are here to correct incorrect postures. So I need to see what postures they are working in right now in order to facilitate, and also what equipment that they're using in order to help them write an accurate, what we call reasonable accommodation request. So when a person, now, first of all, let me qualify what I'm about to tell you by disclosing that I have been a corporate ergonomist, my side hustle, my second side hustle. We got a couple over here. first and foremost, I'm a physical therapist. Second, I'm a corporate ergonomist. And third, I am an ergonomic workstation designer. So I have learned from the corporate side what it is that they're looking for in those letters. Because remember, the people who are receiving the letters that you guys are writing are not medical people. And beyond the really area of pain, they really don't want to know that much. And also, HIPAA issues and all that stuff. So the question is, what do they need to see and what do they need to know? And what legally are they obligated to help the employees with? And honestly, since COVID-19, since many people have been working from home as part of their time on the clock, it has lassoed the employers into more liability than they probably hoped for. The moral of the story is, if a patient is asking you, if they have started to seek medical care as a result of an injury that a cumulative trauma injury, right? I've had neck pain, don't know what happened. Advil worked at first. I got a couple massages. I went to the gym. I did this and that, but now it's not working. It's getting worse. Cumulative trauma, not I got hit by a bus, but cumulative trauma injuries, chronic pain that can easily be attributed to poor postures and poor movement patterns. Then the letter needs to include pictures of the person sitting poorly in their either work or office environment, pictures of what they should look like, and then a detailed description, a detailed list of the products that are required to support that person to facilitate ideal postures and patterns during work, no matter where that is. So if a cumulative injury has culminated in them seeking medical treatment, boom, the employer is responsible. Now, what constitutes reasonable? What constitutes reasonable is if the employer can afford it. So if, we're talking about, I have in my, as you know, Dr. Davis, where we are in Arlington, it's all federal employees. It's Deloitte, it's Boeing, it's, these mega behemoth companies that have sent their employees home. And those people are willing and they want, there's a real switch right now in terms of corporate culture. There's a whole world changing right now about how employees are like, we want to support your mental wellness, your physical wellness, your whatever you need, we want to support you. So when they come to a place like that and they have a letter for a reasonable cost chair, a reasonable cost desk, a $40 side table, they are, tell us where to buy, tell us what to buy. They're more than willing, and they love that the medical provider has been highly specific about what the patient needs to succeed, right? So they welcome, you've done half of their procurement job by identifying what the person needs. In addition to that, we also ask our patients to do, or clients, ergonomics clients, or your patients, to fill out what we call symptom surveys. Let me pull that up. So it's not a very detailed form, but it's specific. Again, this is based on my experience in corporate ergonomics. Let me share my screen. This is called a symptom survey, where we just want to know what body area ails you, okay? And, mark it with an X if you've had problems in this area. And then you go across and you tell us, has it been slight, moderate, or severe in the last week? And we track these changes over time, both pre-reasonable accommodation fulfillment and after reasonable accommodation fulfillment. And the reason why the equal opportunity, usually these things go through either equal opportunity employment offices of these big companies or of the federal government, or someplace called civil rights offices. they want to know that whatever it is that we told them to get ultimately led to the person's discomfort during work going down. We don't say that we're curing their disease. We're not saying that we're even reducing pain. What we are reducing is discomfort during work. No HR person wants to hear about pain, but discomfort is the language that they speak. That's as specific as they want to get, and that's fine. And this is how we communicate with them, and this is how we also keep track of those patients, because what the HR or the employer's pinch point is, making sure that that person can work, can tolerate computer use for 8 hours a day. Can they tolerate it without it triggering a work comp claim? And what we have found is almost, I'm very good at this. I've been doing this a long time, that once people buy the stuff that we recommend, and we teach the patient or the client how to work correctly, that ultimately these always go down. We are batting 1,000 because anything beats this. But we track it.
Could you show that picture that you showed me yesterday? That was part of letter of medical necessity, where you had an example of somebody sitting in a position that so many of us sit. And before we go, because this is so much super helpful information that everybody needs to know about, and maybe we'll do a part 2 another time, I would like people to see what that letter of medical necessity should look like with if you can just scroll down pictures and different sections you showed me yesterday.
So this one's actually a little more detailed. Again, this is from 2014, so it's old. I have learned to streamline this quite a bit. But generally speaking, the language in the corporate environment of musculoskeletal disease risk is measured in something called a RULA score. It's a 1 through 7. And when we get the before pictures, we give that person's pictures a RULA score. It is a validated objective measure of probability of spine and joint disease development. Okay, this is the language on the other side, RULA scores. So, they want to know if the RULA is a 7, the person's hair is on fire and we have to buy this immediately. Or if the RULA is low, then there is really no hurry. So what we do is we take the pictures of someone, and then what we do is we position them correctly with the right equipment. And our goal is always to include in the evaluation in these reports a RULA equals 1 picture. This is RULA equals 1. Neck is incorrect, alignment, the shoulder, all the angles, shoulder, elbow, wrists, knees and feet, they are all in neutral posture. I no longer even include this section, which is called risk factors. But basically what we do then we just lodge into what that person needs in order to have a RULA equal 1. This is what the corporate side is responsible for. This is safety during computer use, low RULA scores. So, and then we just itemize the products. And again, this is a highly customized, we go into not only furnishings, but we also even go as specific as what kind of keyboard and mouse, do they need a vertical mouse? Do they need, a specialty keyboard? Do they need a wrist rest? Do they need those things? And then that's it. And then that is rock solid. When you send something like this to an employer that shows them, 1, the smoking gun, and this is hardly a very toxic picture. And then 2, what they should look like when they are working, it's pretty much a slam dunk. So we, in our office, the before pictures come from the employee or the patient. And then what we do now is we meet patients at a furniture showroom. It's called the Very Showroom. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Very desk. This is a very cheap, this is what I like to call the Kia of office furniture manufacturing. It's not the $3,000 chairs. It's the $300 chairs. This is where I take people. And then I take pictures of them sitting in RULA equals 1. And we, create an agreed upon list of products that they need. And then we write the letter, and then the employer gleefully, most of the time, the employer submits. And again, we as healthcare providers and them as the people paying for it, we are both interested in reducing discomfort during work. That's our shared goal. And of course, with the patient, also interested in not aching anymore. So, this is not a discussion about BMI and core attenuation, how, form during core stabilization exercises. That's a whole other part of, chiro and PT care. That's not what this is about. This is about comfort, productivity, and safety during work. That's it. And this is how we do it. That's the letter that seals the deal. And we're very good. I mean, I think I've really gotten it down to a science. There aren't that many, different configurations. As you all know, that, in our jobs, there comes a time where you start seeing the same thing over and over and over again, with a couple of differences, nuances, but generally speaking, what people need to work in comfort has become pretty crystal clear, at least to us at ErgoRx.
I love it. Wow. Thank you so much. And this is information that is very valuable, both to individuals and also healthcare providers, because everybody needs to benefit when healthcare providers collaborate. And I want everybody listening to ask questions, because I'm sure there are some questions that you may have. There's absolutely no way we can give you all the information with a quick video, but we want you to have a hint, a glimpse of how that should look like. And also there are some easy solutions. So we encourage you to collaborate with our group. We definitely encourage you to connect with Jeannie, with ErgoRx. I think this is a collaboration that is going to be very, very beneficial both ways. And if you have any questions, we encourage you to comment below. We wish you a very, very good night. And thank you so much, Dr. Todd, Dr. Davis, and thank you so much, Jeannie. That was amazing.
Pleasure.
We'll do a part 2 for sure.
Thank you again.